Here's a fun fact that might ruin your week. If you take all the mass and energy in the observable universe and calculate how big a black hole that much stuff would make, you get a number suspiciously close to the actual size of the observable universe. Not off by a little, not close-ish, suspiciously, uncomfortably close. Which raises a genuinely fun question. What if we're not living in a black hole-free universe at all? What if we are, right now, sitting inside one, reading this sentence, completely unaware? Every black hole has something called a Schwarzschild-radius, basically the point of no return, the edge of the event horizon, where gravity gets so strong that not even light can climb back out. It's a simple calculation. Plug in how much mass you've got, and it pops out a size. More mass, bigger radius. So physicists did the obvious, slightly unhinged thing. They took the total estimated mass and energy of the observable universe and ran it through that same equation. The answer landed almost exactly on the actual radius of the observable universe. As in, if our universe were a black hole, it would be almost exactly this size. Coincidence? Physicists are still arguing about that, and we'll get to why. Quick refresher, because it matters in a second. Black holes form when something massive, usually a dying star, runs out of fuel and collapses under its own gravity, crushing down and down with nothing left to push back. Classic general relativity says it keeps collapsing forever, all the way down to a single infinitely dense point called a singularity, which is physics code for our equations just gave up. Once you cross the event horizon around that point, something genuinely bizarre happens in the math. Space and time basically swap roles. Falling toward the center stops being optional. It becomes as unavoidable as tomorrow. You don't fall inward the way you'd fall down a hole. You fall inward the way you're currently falling through time. Forward. Constantly. No matter what you do. There's no steering, there's no reversing, just relentless, one-way motion toward whatever's at the center. Here's a detail that should really bother you. For a small black hole, crossing that line would shred you instantly, gravity yanking your feet much harder than your head, a process physicists call, with some enthusiasm, spaghettification. But for a truly massive black hole, the supermassive kind sitting at the center of entire galaxies, the horizon is so large and gentle that you could cross it and feel completely normal. No jolt, no warning sign, no cosmic, you are now leaving reality billboard. You just keep floating along, checking your phone, having a totally average day. Which means, if this hypothesis is right, there'd be no moment where anyone inside noticed the crossing happen. We wouldn't feel a wall because there isn't one to feel. Now here's the part that makes cosmologists a little twitchy. When you write out the equations for the inside of a black hole and compare them to the equations for our expanding universe, they look weirdly similar. Both describe a one-way process. Both have a version of time that only moves forward, dragging everything along whether it likes it or not. Our universe is expanding in every direction, and we can't stop it, slow it, or go back. That's exactly the kind of one-way, no takebacks behavior you'd expect if we were living inside the trapped region of a black hole, not safely outside one. This isn't just a fun napkin theory, by the way. A physicist named Nikodem Poplavsky built an actual framework around it. Remember that singularity, the point where the math just gives up? Poplavsky's hunch was that the math gives up because it's ignoring something. Every particle has a tiny built-in spin, and if you account for that spin properly, using a tweaked version of general relativity called Einstein-Cartan gravity, a new force called torsion appears at extreme densities. Torsion pushes back. Instead of crushing down into an infinitely small point, the collapsing matter hits a wall, stops, and bounces. That bounce, he argues, could look exactly like a Big Bang from the inside. Meaning every black hole out there, the ones at the centers of galaxies, the ones swallowing stars right now, might each be quietly giving birth to a brand new universe. Possibly with its own stars, its own physics, its own extremely confused stick figure explaining paradoxes to an audience that doesn't exist yet. And if that's true, it doesn't stop at one universe. Our universe has black holes in it too. Plenty of them. Which means we might be constantly spinning off baby universes of our own, which will grow their own stars, form their own black holes, and spin off grandchildren universes forever, branching outward like the world's most extreme family tree. This isn't just us running wild with the idea either. Physicist Lee Smolin proposed something in the same spirit, called cosmological natural selection. Universes that happen to be good at making black holes produce more offspring universes. So over unthinkable stretches of time, the physics that's good at building black holes gets passed on more often. Basically evolution, except the organisms are entire universes, and the trait being selected for is really good at black holes. And here's why that idea is such a big deal. Beyond just being a fun image, physicists have long been bothered by the fact that our universe's constants, the strength of gravity, the mass of an electron, the rate of expansion, all seem weirdly well-tuned for stars, chemistry, and eventually us to exist. Nudge most of those numbers off even slightly, and you get a universe of dead, sterile static. No stars, no chemistry, definitely not you. Cosmological natural selection offers a possible answer that doesn't require luck or design. If universes reproduce through black holes, and black holes tend to form in universes that are also good at making stars, then generation after generation, the successful universes naturally end up looking a lot like ours. We wouldn't be lucky, we'd just be descended from a long line of universes that were good at their one job. There's one more wrinkle, and it's a strange one. Stephen Hawking showed that black holes aren't perfectly black forever. They leak a faint trickle of radiation and very, very slowly evaporate. Given enough time, more time than the universe has existed so far by an almost comical margin, a black hole should shrink down to nothing and vanish. So if our entire universe is in the inside of one, that means it's technically got an expiration date, ticking away back in whatever parent universe is hosting us. Nobody knows, and honestly, this is the point in the video where even the physicists start shrugging. But it's a genuinely wild implication. Existence itself, on a long enough timeline, might just be one very, very slow motion puff of radiation. Okay, so is there any actual evidence, or is this just very confident vibes? There's one real, honest-to-goodness anomaly that keeps getting dragged into this conversation. Scientists mapping the cosmic microwave background, the leftover heat from the Big Bang, noticed a strange, faint alignment in the large-scale patterns of the sky. It's real. It's been seen by multiple satellites, and cosmologists genuinely don't have a clean explanation for it. They nicknamed it, and I promise I'm not making this up, the axis of evil. Some have wondered if a slight preferred direction like that could hint at a rotating parent black hole, the kind Poplawski's model would predict. Most physicists think it's more likely a statistical fluke or some instrument quirk we haven't quite nailed down yet. But it is a genuine, unexplained anomaly, sitting right there in real data, which is more than most fringe theories ever get to point to. Before you spiral, here's the responsible science communicator disclaimer. This is just a hypothesis, not a proven fact, and plenty of physicists are still skeptical. Some argue that suspicious size coincidence from earlier isn't actually suspicious at all. It falls straight out of how we define critical density in cosmology, basically a side effect of math we already use, not secret evidence of everything. In other words, you might get that exact same numerical coincidence in a universe that has nothing to do with black holes whatsoever, which would make the whole thing a very elaborate mathematical shrug. And here's the big problem, separate from any one anomaly. By definition, nothing gets out of a black hole. No light, no signal, no strongly worded letter to the parent universe complaining about the rent. If we really are inside one, there's no experiment we can run from in here that would reach out there. That makes this idea almost impossible to prove, and almost impossible to rule out, which is exactly the kind of thing that makes physicists deeply uncomfortable. Good science wants to be testable. This one barely qualifies, and probably never will. Still, it's not nothing. It connects real, respected mathematics, general relativity, the structure of black holes, the expansion of space-time into one strange, elegant idea. And even the mainstream picture of the Big Bang, matter and energy exploding outward from an unimaginably dense point, already sounds suspiciously like a black hole running in reverse. Physicists like Stephen Hawking used to compare asking what happened before the Big Bang to asking what's north of the North Pole. It's not that we don't know the answer, it's that the question stops making sense once you're standing at the edge of the map. Nobody's rewriting the textbooks yet, but nobody's fully closed the door either. So, are we living inside a black hole? Honestly, we don't know. And by the nature of that question, we might never know. It's genuinely frustrating if you want a clean answer, but it's also kind of the whole point of cosmology. We're stuck inside the experiment, trying to read the label from the wrong side of the jar. But next time you see a photo of a black hole swallowing light a few million light years away, consider this. Maybe it's not an ending, but maybe, somewhere inside it, something's just getting started, with its own stars, its own slowly forming planets, and maybe, eventually, its own version of you, wondering the exact same thing about the black hole in its own sky. Thanks for watching. If this one gave you a small existential crisis, don't worry, that means it worked. I'll see you guys in the next one.